Time check on Tobago updates is brought to you by Flow, Tobago's newest fiber network.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome to the Tobago Updates Morning Show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. Yes, it's the start of the new year 2024 as we continue to give God thanks, coming out of an entire Christmas celebration and certainly all years, a number of activities happening over the course of the weekend. We are here. It is the new year. We're in the first week of the new year, and indeed we continue to give God thanks. I am Julian Skeet.
And I am Adana Kumbi. Indeed, it is a pleasure to be here this morning. And this is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and we will be glad in it. We are indeed thankful that we are here. We've made it to 2024, and we're always happy to be coming into your homes or wherever you are, listening and viewing as we bring information to you that pertains to things happening in and around Tobago. Heading into 2024 indeed is a privilege, a blessing, and an honor. Julian, good morning.
Morning.
It is 2024.
Yes.
We have made it. Thanks be to God Almighty for bringing us here safely.
Thanks be to God indeed. But on that same note, the nation, Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago is certainly in a bit of sadness at this time. And twofold at that in this sense. And we want to start in the first instance by recognizing the stellar, the distinguished, the contributions of excellence.
That's right.
We would have heard over the weekend, that's on All Year's Day, of the passing of the first Chief Secretary. And if you have ever done an interview with him or had a conversation with him, he made that correction immediately when you simply said former or past Chief Secretary. He wanted to remind you that there was a transition in the Tobago House of Assembly from a chairman to a Chief Secretary, and therefore he was the first Chief Secretary of the Tobago, of Tobago, and that's the late Hooy Charles. Certainly served us with distinction, and without a shadow of a doubt, there is no question in the minds of any when it comes to his ability to be able to produce the information, to give his perspective on issues and matters relevant to Tobago. And I think it's safe to say that he wore his emotions quite openly, and his perspective at that. And anyone who resides in Tobago, in fact, you may even reside in Trinidad, the region far and wide, without a doubt that he is all about, and certainly would have been all about, fighting for Tobago to be able to advance in terms of its autonomy and its authority as an island, as part of the Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, to really be able to stand equal at that. So this morning we take the opportunity to send out condolences to the family and in fact Tobago at large, on the passing of the first Chief Secretary of Tobago, Mr. Hooy Charles. And then when you thought that old years wasn't enough, we entered into the new year on the 1st of January, yesterday, and we saw the announcement by his daughter, the passing of the country's fifth Prime Minister, if I recall correctly. Mr. Basdio Pandey, has also passed on. And, interesting enough, what stood out for me is at the age of 90. Really spent a number of his years like that of Hooy fighting, putting forward that fight to make a difference in Trinidad and Tobago. And so his contribution definitely should also be recognized similarly to that of Mr. Charles. These are two outstanding politicians and indeed leaders that took us through varying times in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. And so we also send out our condolences to the family of Mr. Basdio Pandey, the late Mr. Basdio Pandey, our former Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. So, you're starting with that kind of, great leaders.
Yes. Yeah.
Great leaders indeed. And, now, interesting enough, I hear many have started the conversations, even in giving their tributes. And so that, to respect them is to really seek to acknowledge and to highlight their work.
Their work, that's
and
right.
more than that, to deliver on the things that they have been fighting. They have been fighting for right down to the very last.
Right. Let's see how it goes. I mean, it really was a sombering moment, receiving the news back to back, And as you said in your discourse, that they really contributed, they fought for what they believed in and they didn't back down. There are two men that just did not back down from what they believed in, and they were very vocal and very passionate in their fights to ensure that Trinidad and Tobago stood in a better place, talking about autonomy for Tobago and stuff like that coming from the late Hooy Charles. So there are really two pillars in the political arena, and not just politics, but in terms of nation building. They were really, really focused on that. In the offices that they held and the powers that they held at the time, really fighting for change. And as you said, I really want to see how it goes in terms of the mantle being carried on to establish the things that they were really fighting for, to see if we can get those things done in this dispensation of time, while we are still here.
No pressure at all to the current Chief Secretary and Minority Leader and all those other leaders responsible. But we are hopeful that you'll be able to deliver, at this time, significant at that, to, the memory and the legacy. Of course, we also had the passing, I shouldn't say the passing, rather, the hard circumstances of shooting and murder, happening in our space. On the first day in Trinidad and Tobago, I saw of incidents happening in Trinidad and similarly in Patience Hill here in Tobago, unfortunately, starting the year off very sad again in terms of murder and so on. And we really, it's a call, and this is something we'll definitely have to look into more seriously and to call on the relevant authorities. We got to do more from the perspective of national security. But I want to go one step further to indicate we got to do more in terms of our work out there in the context of the community, the church, the NGOs, various groups and organizations. As a people, we got to recognize that it goes beyond just the arms of the state in terms of treating with these issues. But at this point, viewers, we're heading straight on into news in 90 seconds.
Thank you, Julian and Adana. Here is your news in 90 seconds for Tuesday, 2nd January 2024, brought to you by B-Mobile. It's the Christmas season with B-Mobile. Tributes are pouring in following the passing of former Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Basdio Pandey. The news of his passing was announced by his daughter, Michaela Pandey, on Monday night via social media. She stated that he passed away surrounded by family. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley described him as a man who left an indelible mark on the nation, serving with great resolve and panache. Meanwhile, President Christine Kangaloo expressed deep sadness at the news, noting that he was a giant of a man who led the country with passion and compassion. Pandey served as the nation's 5th Prime Minister between 1995 and 2001. Tobago continues to mourn the loss of the island's first Chief Secretary, Hooy Charles, who passed away on December 31, 2023, after a period of illness. Many people have expressed deep sorrow at his passing, with Chief Secretary Farley Augustine recognized him as one of Tobago's greatest patriots who advocated for the island's self-governance until his death. And finally, Tobago has recorded its first murder for 2024. Kareem Small was shot while socializing with some other young men in a park maintained by CPEP in Patience Hill on Monday. Area representative for Signal Hill, Patience Hill, Nigel Tate, arrived at the scene shortly afterwards and expressed his shock at the incident. He said he knew Small very well, describing him as a good and hard-working young man to whom his knowledge was not involved in deviant activities. Tate pleaded with young men across Tobago to put down the guns and strive to lead a life on the straight and narrow path. And that was your news in 90 seconds, brought to you by B-Mobile. It's a Christmas season with B-Mobile.
News in 90 seconds was brought to you by B-Mobile. It's a Christmas season with B-Mobile.
Yes, good morning viewers and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show. As we continue this morning, we're just at about 7:06 a.m. and we are heading on into our first, this, as I said, is the first working day of the year. The year got started yesterday, New Year's Day celebration. It's the first working day of the year, January 2024. Adana, who do we have on the rundown this morning?
Right, this morning we'll be speaking with Father Phil Isaac. He is the Archdeacon of Tobago Anglican Church, and we're talking about don't wait, because we're in 2024 and you usually make resolutions at the beginning of the year. Don't wait to make New Year's resolutions. So we're going to have that conversation and get his perspective on that. We also speak with Rodil Kirk. He's the superintendent of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Services, and we are talking, of course, we're going to get the crime update as we mentioned earlier, and safety for the upcoming carnival season, because right out of Christmas in Trinidad and Tobago we head straight into carnival. So we'll have that conversation, and we round things off with a message from the Honorable Farley Chavez Augustine, the Chief Secretary of Tobago, his New Year's Day address to all of us here on the island of Tobago. So that's what our show looks like for you guys this morning on the Morning Show on Tobago Updates.
All right, at this point, viewers, we're heading into our birthday shout-outs.
And celebrating a birthday today is my friend, yes, and a colleague in the business, Kanisha George, celebrating a birthday today, a fine lady. We want to wish you a very happy birthday. We pronounce God's blessings upon your life. May all your desires be met even as we enter into this new year 2024. Happy birthday, darling.
Yes, birthday shout-outs going out to you as well, Kanisha George. And we are taking the time out to give a birthday shout-out to Trevicia Phillips. And Trevicia is one of our reporters here. I want to wish you a happy birthday and indeed continued blessings. I like the fact that she gives me that bright, outstanding look for the year.
That's right.
Starting with that glow. Certainly wishing you a happy birthday coming from the entire Tobago Updates family. All right, viewers, and we're wishing all those are on the outside, those of you celebrating a birthday, I know some are in the anniversary mix over this last period. We want to wish you all the very best as we are diving on into 2024. And this is our gentle and kind reminder to each of you. Remember, strive to be a blessing to someone as we go along in 2024, an interesting full year ahead. All right, and at this point, viewers, we want to remind you that this is your opportunity to share the life, share the life, share the life.
At JK Tech, we bring technology to your doorstep. From cutting-edge laptops to reliable printers, we've got it all. Nationwide delivery and a new website for easy online ordering. JK Tech is your one-stop shop for your electronics and computer needs, carrying top brands such as Acer, Samsung, HP, and much more. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at JK Tech TT or visit jktech.tt.com. Quality tech is just a click away. JK Tech. Evaluate your shopping experience, your tech, your way. Call or WhatsApp 383-2651. Shop smart, shop JK Tech.
Your destiny. The best way to predict it is to create it. Do you see yourself exploring exotic destinations or spending quality time with family? However you see yourself, create your own retirement destiny with Tata Life's Destiny Personal Savings Booster. Choose from one of 3 investment options with guaranteed minimum investment returns to secure a monthly retirement income for life, with the option to choose your retirement age. So what's your retirement destiny? Call 62-TATTLE or visit tattle.co.tt to learn more today. Conditions apply. Tattle Life, a member of the Answer Makal Group.
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported. Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers. We just had about 7:12 a.m. this morning, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show. Happy New Year! It's the new year. Indeed, as we continue to give thanks, we are in 2024. We have made it this far. Indeed, and as we head on into our first interview this morning, we are chatting with Archdeacon Phil Isaac of the Tobago Anglican Church, and we're speaking about don't wait to make New Year resolutions. And you know, if you are around long enough and you have interacted and the influence he has on so many, yes, it's the same Father Phil Isaac that we know as Archdeacon based on his responsibilities. Good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning, Julian, and thanks for having me. And good morning to Tobago, and pleasant and happy New Year. I do hope that, you know, as the year did not start on too much of a good note, but, you know, things happen and we roll along. On the last day, we lost Chief Secretary, and on the first day, we lost a good old politician, you know. But at the same time, we're moving along.
Yes, indeed. And you know, I want to kind of take it back there in terms of your, before we even dive into the New Year resolutions in itself, you know, from where you sit, your wealth of experience, Father Phil, Archdeacon, through the church, the involvement of the people of Tobago, and by extension, those who move to and reside in Tobago. Tell us a little bit, you know, how do you feel at this point? Is there still a sense of hope? You still got to believe, you still got to have that faith in terms of things getting better one day?
Well, if we look at history, if we look at biblical history, we will see things would have moved, let us call it in a sinusoidal curve, right? Things get better, things get worse, people get complacent, you know, and things move from stage to stage. So I have hope. I do have hope.
All right, no matter the circumstances. So this morning we're diving on into, there's that topic of New Year resolutions. Some are for it, some are not so much for it. We want to get your perspective from where you sit. Are you into that and promoting, all right, at this point in the year, you must dictate what happens, and then you wait for an entire year and to make that change and difference again. Tell us a little bit about your perspective when it comes to resolutions. And I probably should ask you to start from the point of how do you see and or define, that resolution, so to speak, before we even touch whether it's New Year limited to?
Well, people go into planning, and sometimes people assign dates from which they are going to start activities. When it comes to the New Year, it is a good point for change because there can be some reflection on what would have passed. And because of the image, if I want to call it that, of the New Year, we could say, well, New Year, new rule. Coming up here this morning, I gave a guy a lift, and I said, so how does the New Year look for you? You see, I taking it as it comes, right? And, sometimes people look at birthdays. Sometimes people look at anniversaries, and they set targets from various points. The reason why I would say the New Year is a good time to set a target is because as the year goes old, 365 pass, and you say, well, look, let me reflect and let me start over. It's a good thing. I mean, personally, if I have to do something, I just plan and I do it, as the time rolls on. That's my personal way of doing it. But, when you look at humanity, we have so many different views, and persons are going to start from different places.
So what I want to get, most times what tends to happen for most persons is we make that plan, we make that resolution at the beginning of the year. And somehow by the time we get into January, later part, February, etc., we've kind of leaned away from what the resolution intended, and then we put it down all together until we're coming down to Christmas and New Year's again at the end of the year and prepare ourselves for the next year. What's your advice to persons in that regard? Because we kind of dropped the ball. We let the whole year run through because we feel as though we cannot do it in between or refocus, and then we wait till the end of the year again to give the confidence and say we're starting anew once again.
They will continue exciting themselves, being anxious, and making these resolutions on January 1, and by January 31, those resolutions would have evaporated. Right? That happens. So it's the way they live, right? I mean, if you have something concrete to do, you are going to put a plan in place. You will sit down, you will contemplate on it seriously, and you're going to start doing it at any time. You understand? But when you're waiting on New Year's, quote-unquote, resolutions, okay, I'm going to take up a fitness program or something like that in the New Year, you see the tummies going after the 21st of January.
They might probably make it to the festive carnival season, and then after that we have problems.
Yes, you have problems again.
How would you say in terms of, we look broadly, and many, particularly, those experienced ones who have been around in Tobago long enough and have seen the island transition and grow and so on, they speak with much concern. If I take, for example, my grandmother and others, my neighbors, those senior, they speak with much concern that they feel as though a lot of the challenges we faced, a contributing factor has been because Tobago, by and large, has somewhat started to move away from that focus on, that focus on God, whatever you may call him in your particular religion or your particular faith, but that focus on a higher being. What's your perspective again, looking at that situation?
Humans are going to look for, let us call it a superhuman, look for a God or something in their makeup. And because we were made like that, all right? We were created by a superior being, and indeed, we are going to start to look for that superior being that is beyond humanity. And the way we apply ourselves to theology, I mean, in the early days, what probably would have happened is that you had nothing else to look at. But today you see you have other things to look at, and you see you have experiences coming along the lines. To some people right now, the gun is their God. You understand? And they feel, well, okay, I don't need this spiritual being, right? Because I have the power in my hand. And that is dangerous, okay? But nevertheless, people will always look for something superior as we move along. And as to how the church continues to manage, you see, and then the relationship between what I would say church and state, and how, for example, the state follows the UN practices and all the practices and all these laws that are coming in now, you know, these restrictive laws, right, to control the rights of human beings and so forth. The rights of human beings now probably taking precedence over the law of God, taking precedence over the Bible, right? So we'll continue to deteriorate on that situation, but at the same time, God has ways that we have not yet even thought of, all right? I mean, I remember, well, just to call out from a biblical perspective, the situation with Jonah. And Jonah went into Nineveh. Nineveh was cruel, wicked, they were against Israel and so forth, and then suddenly he went in and he spoke 8 words. And nobody expected the king of Jonah to respond. But he responded, and by responding with those 8 words, Nineveh was saved. All right? So we have a God that we can depend on. He's always faithful, and he has ways of, you know, pointing us into directions that we have not even thought of yet.
Tell us, do you hope to see the church playing a greater role heading on forward in this year? And by that I mean specifically, again, for me, the essence of church is not just simply coming together on a Saturday or on a Sunday, but it's really that greater integration into community. You know, I operate in spaces and places where my pastor and my minister are very familiar with the community, whether you should be in church and you're not there because of your family line, but they know that this is where you're connected to and where you should be getting that fill, or you are there regularly and faithfully as you should be. Do you see a greater role to be played on the part of the church as it relates to you know, building out those communities and so on, in terms of moving us forward?
I would sadly say that the church has a responsibility to take a greater role in the community. But I find it these days, churches taking a interest, and when I say in themselves, rather than pointing people to God. Many of the churches are battling against each other. They're trying to draw membership from one church to the other, rather than join hands and go out there and go into the community and do what we have to do. All right? And I think that is deceiving the church itself, even as we are bonded. Churches have got to, well, when I say churches, let me say denominations have got to link together and go into the community, because it is the kind of, let us say, enemy that we have. If you're divided, what is going to happen? You will be ruled, right? So yes, the church has got to work together. The churches must work. If the churches do not work together, then we lost. We're going to lose the battle.
All right. And what I want to use the opportunity, you know, to also to have you say a few words on, particularly, you know, we have always made the cry and the call, our young people and our children are indeed our future. Some of them feel somewhat of a separation from the church. You know, one of the conversations we had coming to the latter part of last year in terms of being able to connect openly and anywhere. Now I know in growing up, I didn't even belong to the Anglican Church, but through my involvement in YOT, I could reach out to Father Phil anytime. What's your advice in that regard? Because some are not too much into reaching out in that formal open space, let's say at a service or in a public way, but that level of accessibility to, you know, those who take up very leading roles in terms of that spiritual guidance and leading in the church and so on. What do you say to those young people in particular that feel as though that avenue doesn't exist?
Who was here first? The young people? The young people were not here first. All right. Now, as a curate, and I'd use the word because not many people know or interact with that word. As a curate, I have a cure. And my cure is everyone who is within that conurbation, anyone who is within the community, any village, any church, right? As long as you belong to that area, you are in my cure. And I have got to open myself to you. I have got to show respect to you in a particular way. I have got to be concerned about you. All right? So I'm saying that I'm here first. And you are coming into the community. I must invite you and shape you into the community. The thing about that, though, is that we have some obstacles, right? Between my serving the young people and the young people receiving what I have to give, right?
Yes.
I mean, so I'm seeing from an Anglican perspective, that's how we see it. But yes, we must open ourselves to the young people, and we must also have an avenue to the young people so that we can respect them and they can respect us. If that doesn't happen again, things would fall. Right?
Indeed. All right. And you get the opportunity to give us, what would be your message to our viewers and listeners, those here in Tobago, Trinidad, those far and wide that have ties and connections to Trinidad and Tobago, looking on, and even some of our newer visitors, our viewers on the outside there, Canada, outside in the US, Ghana, and so on. What would be your message that goes out to them at the start of this year as we close this morning's interview?
There is a statement I have. Marriages fail when we worship self. Selfishness is a dangerous enemy to humanity. In Trinidad and Tobago, I would say ban all guns, all firearms, all right? And I'll say something that is going to be really crazy at this time. If you are seen with a gun, you'll be shot. Questions are asked after, if it is possible.
Very, very, very.
But for the rest of the world, I'm saying that, we have got to look at that. Yes, we are individuals, and but selfishness, we've got to strive to do what Jesus has told us to do. Right? Do unto others as we would have them to do unto us.
All right.
Okay.
Indeed, there. A message there from Archdeacon Phil Isaac as we start off here, our first working day for the year 2024. And I've got to say it slowly because you tend to still tie in with the old year. Thank you so much for joining us here on set at the Tobago Updates morning show. And let me take the opportunity, quick shout outs this morning. To some of those viewers on the live with us, Selma Lashley. I'm seeing in the mix this morning, Lavian Ashby Cupid. Good morning to you. Pearl Murray Baird, continuing to be faithful and dedicated indeed. The Tobago Updates. Auntie Dora Lyons, Brenda Campbell. I'm seeing the man himself, Terry Trinidad, in the mix. I saw your brother for the family lineup and celebrations. Looking forward to seeing you. All right, Travis Moses, Lisa James, QK Melville, Mrs. Charles out there in Susulands, Crystal Tom, Washington, Uncle Carly out there as well, Carl Simon supporting. I want to say good morning to each and every one of you, and we want to thank you so much for the continued love and support and for choosing the Tobago Updates morning show. The viewers, at this point, we prepare to head on out to a break, but we want to remind you that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live. It's a new year.
Hey, hello guys, welcome. Come have a seat.
Oh, this is so stylish and I love the fabric. Darlings, you must tell us where you got your new furnishings.
We got them locally at Standard. They've got new chic European furniture, crafted from high quality material. Oh, Standard?
No, it's Standard, their brand new Hive collection.
Experience luxurious European furniture at a price you will love. The Hive collection, now exclusively available at Standard.
Everybody only worrying. Never ever worry, don't mind how things looking hard. I tell them never ever worry, if your nice can't get damaged bad. I tell them never ever worry, what I'm saying is true. So just consider, Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry, don't mind if life make you sad. I tell them never ever worry, if your house get flooded out real bad. I tell them never ever worry, what I'm saying is true. So just consider, Tatil will always be here for you. Never worry about a thing. Tatil, where people are people. You know what I mean.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash and transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
Rotisserie, mouth-watering fries, salads, combos, and specials galore. Feeling for something to eat? Come and see. Our rotisserie is seasoned to the T. Kicking chicken, masala, and jerk roast. Crispy fries made from scratch. Who do you know can't beat that? Or salads freshly cut and packed. When you taste it, you'll be wanting to come back. So come check us out on number 2 Robinson Street, Uptown Scarborough, Tobago. We open on Saturday nights from 7:30 to 11:30 p.m. Monday to Thursday, we're open from 10 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. and on Friday, 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Contact us at 772-7443 and all social media handles at The Rotisserie Factory.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the morning show on Tobago Updates Television. Today is January 2nd, 2024. Yes, we are in the new year, a brand new year. And of course, again, we want to wish you Happy New Year to all our viewers and our followers on all our platforms. And we're always coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. We continue conversations with our guest in studio. And this morning, we're speaking with Rodil Kirk, Superintendent of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Services. He's going to give us a crime update. Of course, the year started off hot, so we're going to get that update as it relates to crime, and we're also going to talk about safety for the upcoming carnival season. As we know, in Trinidad and Tobago, as we head out of Christmas, we head straight into the carnival season, so we're going to have conversations in that regard as well. Good morning, Superintendent, and welcome.
Good morning, Adana, and good morning to your viewers and listeners throughout the world.
And I want to wish you a Happy New Year. And I know that the year started off hot. So, of course, we're going to get into that conversation, giving us the update as it relates to what happened over the last week and weekend.
Well, December seen as one of our most challenging months throughout 2023. It's where we have seen the increase in our violent crimes. As you are quite aware that we had a couple more murders within the month of December that are engaging our attention. Not only we concluded the year with the toll at 14, only to start at 1 on the first day of the year, which is really unfortunate. And again, I want to extend my deepest condolences to the family of Kareem Small, which he would have been one of the victims of yesterday's incident. Be that as it may, our officers are out on the field as we speak, and we could only do so much as we can. And the investigations are ongoing, and as we get any further information, we will provide that update as time goes on.
Right. I know in times past, especially in the recent past, when you bring updates to us here, usually the highest recorded crime would be like break-ins and burglaries. But now we're seeing that there are fatal crimes taking place on the island of Tobago. And we're wondering what could be the cause of this, one. And two, what can we do? What do we have to do? Because we've been implementing increased police presence. We've been sending out public awareness to our population here in Tobago. We have been doing the work. So what do you think contributes to this increase in this type of crime, and what can we do that is different to what we're doing now?
Right. Well, what I could tell you is that still remain our highest, as we refer to our total crimes, remain break-ins and larceny. However, in terms of the violent crimes, yes, our presence have been out there. We have done most of what we said that we were going to do. We put police officers on the streets. The thing about it is that policing is not entirely up to the police alone. We, the citizens, have to be more involved. We have to be more guarded in our space. We have to look out for one another, and if we do that, that will be a major contribution towards minimizing any incidents from occurring. Because when you see something and you call the police, I know you will get swift response.
Okay, so we have to go back to being our brother's keeper.
We have to go back to that. We have to go back, looking out. When you see the stranger in the neighborhood, call, find out, you seek that information. We used to do that. You used to call some people the village Mako. Maybe you have to go back to that. When we see somebody strange, let us find out about that person. Call the police to get information or to give information. And that will work out.
But the challenging thing about that, as you mentioned that, I remember going back in the day, you would know people who are in your community. You would know the faces, but there's been a lot of migration in communities around Tobago. So you see new faces. So it's kind of challenging to identify if a new face is a threat to the community or if it's just a new migration into the community in terms of a new family moving in. So it's kind of challenging there.
Well, I'm saying you can't be too cautious. Because you must have a neighbor and if you see somebody by the neighbor, I think you should make it your business to know as well. Discreetly or overtly or covertly, you could make it your business to know as well. It's for your own safety, because you don't know if those person could come back and be some sort of threat to you. So it's just something about looking out and just being cautious. You need to take steps to do that. And that is all I'm urging, the citizens to do.
And as we're talking about that, we're talking now about preparing for Carnival 2024, and we're talking about how do we stay safe, how do we safeguard ourselves, our properties, and all that concerns us as we head on into that period again of revelry where people are, a little bit more loose, and of course people will be outside of their homes, so their homes will be left unattended, stuff like that. What steps do we take to safeguard ourselves, for those of us who participate in the revelry, and for those of us who are at home, or those of us who go to camp? What do we do to keep ourselves and our properties safe?
Right. Again, I want to say that this year we are focusing on SMART, safety measures aimed at reducing threats. So what we have to do as we go about, we have to be smart. When you go attending some of these fetes, you have to be smart in where you park. You have to be smart in if you intend to drink, you have your designated driver. If you are leaving home, make sure you don't leave the children unattended. Make sure that you minimize having these large amounts of jewelry and cash on you. You have to take smart decisions, make smart decisions in terms of, reducing that, making you a target. So this is what I'm saying, going about in these carnival fetes. We are seeing the trend. We are seeing that some crimes are increasing, or crimes against persons are increasing. So you have to take that step to safeguard yourself. So that is first item. So these are some of the things in which you could do. And I sometimes urge people in terms of their valuables. make sure that they have some level of identifying marks in which is unique, that they can identify it if they should lose it at some stage. Take additional steps in protecting your space, whether it be by installing CC cameras, installing proper burglar proof, all of these things, because we are seeing the trend. You have to be proactive going forward. Take nothing for granted. So this is what we are urging as the police, that when you are going out now, make sure you exercise all the level of caution that you can. And in the interim, you too, have all the emergency numbers of the police at hand so that you could, in the event you need quick assistance, you have access to the police.
And you mentioned something about parking, something I didn't really consider before. Like when you go out to events, sometimes you just want to find a spot. Once you find a spot and you just park there. But you have to look out for things like proper lighting, whether there's a no parking sign.
Exactly.
What are some of the other things you need to look out for when you're parking to ensure that you're parked safely in a safe spot?
Well, the thing about it, you won't, when you're going, you won't go in, some people like to go up some kind of alley and just park. Mm-hmm. And then when you return, you go by yourself. People might be waiting for you. So even if you intend to do that and you're approaching your vehicle, make sure you have some level of company or persons that you feel that could back you up in the event of anything. Especially females. Try avoid being in areas by yourself. You're going down the line with friends, try and do that. You go into the bar, don't leave drinks unattended. All these things. But in terms of the parking, I am saying that if it is that you are going to an area and you realize that you may be far away from the venue, that is a red flag. Try and avoid that. Try and get as close as possible to the venue where you intend to go, especially for the females. I'm urging you. So these are some of the things that, I would advise, coming up in these carnival fêtes.
Right, and we're talking about now persons who are out of their home, whether they're participating in carnival events or they're going camping. The home is something that's, we mentioned in previous conversations that break-ins are something that is kind of high, right? We spoke about how to safeguard the home, but still we're seeing records of break-ins. It's like the persons wanting to perpetrate, the perpetrators they're really studying how to do this.
Yeah, because they are, you see, that is their job, So they will do all they can within their power to make sure that they succeed. And you as the property owner have to do all that you can to protect. So I think now we are in the age of technology where we can be in Germany and see what's happening in your home. So people have to, invest in some of these technologies in terms where you could have a view of your home from wherever you are, from any remote location. So that is one of the things that I would advise. Or you have a reliable person to actually house it or take care or supervise your premises. You can do that. These are some of the measures in which you can initiate in terms of protecting your own personal property.
And some of the standard things that we talk about during participating in the carnival activities, of course, if you're taking your children with you, some of the teenagers, the parents will say, well, okay, you can hang out with your friends, meet me back here at 10 o'clock or 8 o'clock or whatever. What are some of the guidelines for those types of things?
Right. Again, take nothing to chance. You must make sure that there is some mechanism in place where you can communicate with your child or children when they are away from you in those circumstances, because you never know what could happen. So if you do that, set strict timelines, not just tell them go and come back when you set strict timelines. You have to be at this point by a particular time. If not, I will discourage it. But at the same time, make sure that there is that effective means of communication so that when you do reach out, there is some response to your child, right? Or if they should go a particular place, make sure that you have somebody to check in on them. Even so if you're out, you could have somebody, some member from your group. If they are saying that they are going to be in point A, make sure and verify or check in with them. Those are some of the things that you can do to ensure that, everything is how it's said that it would be.
And in terms of the TTPS aspect of it, I know for the October Carnival, there were central areas where people could come if something was happening in a crowded area that was kind of out of control for the crowd. They could always reach the police there and they could go to, sort of bring some level of calm to that. Is that going to be set up as well for Carnival?
In every Carnival, we have a venue operations center where there will be police officers, other agencies that would be there. So in case you need that level of assistance, it will be afforded to you. So that will happen in every major operation going forward. So yes, indeed, they will have the lost and found. They will have for children who are, who have been abandoned, or maybe, in some they got lost. Those areas will be set up in every Carnival going forward from now.
Right, good.
Right?
Awesome. And I know sometimes also we have the children playing mass, kiddies carnival, and you sort of mentioned it as well. Children might get lost in the band. Somehow it happens. It has happened before and it can happen. So of course that booth there is set up for children to gravitate towards as well.
Yes,
right?
but usually in the kiddies carnival we don't really get so much of those incidents because of the timeline which it occurs, and
and there's
there are
ample
more eyes and
supervision.
visibility.
Right.
Yes.
That's right.
So
That's
we don't usually get that there. We get it more when the parents come to the events with their children, outside of the kiddies carnival. That is when it is more frequent.
And something I want to address also, sometimes the parents might go to events or whatever they might be doing around that time. And sometimes, as you mentioned earlier, you talked about children being left home alone. And I want to address this because I know that there are some people who, whether it might be that they don't have the facilities for somebody to stay with the child or whatever, and they leave because it's a teenage child or whatever to stay at home. What is your advice where that is concerned, especially if the child is not yet 18?
Yeah, that is something I would totally discourage. We are looking at the trend. Take nothing to chance, as I said before. If you are leaving your teenage children, or, I am saying that the law requires you to have some level of supervision for your children, not leaving minors unattended. You have to, and I say it again, you must put something in place to treat with the care of your children. You must have some appropriate adult or somebody to look over those children whilst you are not there. Because if it is that something happens, you will face the full brunt of the law if any harm comes to that child. Right? So that is something I would totally discourage going forward. Don't leave your children unattended at home.
Right. So I'm so happy that we have this kind of advice and tips going forward into our carnival season. What is something that you would like to tell our Tobago public as we started 2024? We see how it has started. What is your vision? What are your hopes? And what is your encouragement and admonition for the population here in Tobago to ensure that we work together to curb crime, that we live in a space that is safe, a space that is peaceful, a space where we feel comfortable for ourselves and our families, and that communities can thrive in comfort and in peace?
Well, I will go back to the basic principles, is that the police are the people and the people are the police. That was said by Sir Robert Peel. I will ask people to change our mindset in Tobago. No longer, gone are the days when everybody views us as the persons who just sit back and relax and anything goes. We have to change our mindsets. We are seeing what is happening. We are seeing what is happening in Trinidad is spilling over, and we have to discourage that. We have to be more aware, self-aware of our environment, of our spaces, of our communities. People in Tobago, yes, we are the friendly kind, but sometimes we are overly accommodating. We just see a stranger pop in and we just embrace. We need to be more careful. We need to be more aware. So that I'm urging people in 2024. Again, I started by saying, leave nothing to chance. Don't take anything for granted.
All right. Thank you so very much, Superintendent Rodil Kirk. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking to the superintendent. We're talking about safeguarding yourself for Carnival 2024 and general safety as we continue 2024. It's the early hours of this year, and we are just ensuring that we can remain safe, our properties can remain safe, our homes, our children, and all that concern us remain safe. And we always get these tips and advice from the TTPS, and we're always so grateful that you can come and share with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you so much for always choosing the morning show for your choice of information as it relates to things happening in and around the Tobago. We are going to go for a short break, but I want to remind you that when we come back, we'll be going straight on into the message from the Honorable Farley Chavez Augustine, Chief Secretary of Tobago, as he brings his message for 2024. And after that, we head on over to GMT. So we want you to stay with us even as we go to this break. This is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.
Inner Health, number 13B, Portmore, Scarborough, Tobago. With over 25 years experience offering services in and not limited to microscopic blood analysis, reflexology, and the sale of a wide range of organic herbal products used to supplement thyroid, lymphatic, heart, kidney, and brain health, and the male and female reproductive systems. Come and chat with us. Remember, your health is your wealth.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning.
Detours, roadblocks, unexpected twists and turns. You probably experienced your own share of these in 2033. And as an island, we contended with our portion as well. In fact, it was just last week, literally days before Christmas, when spirits are usually merry and bright, that heavy rainfall out of nowhere, dampened the season for the villagers of Charlottesville. A situation that resulted in significant damages for some, which we at the Tobago House of Assembly are working feverishly on how to assist, how we could assist them. But even as we stand here on this newly developed Friendship Connector Road, I am reminded that challenges are indeed part of the journey. It is an unassailable truth that we sometimes shy away from, a fixed reality that is crucial for us to maturely embrace. Challenges will inevitably be part of any worthwhile endeavor. Remains wisdom in the maxim that the easy road is not necessarily the best one. These challenges, however, ought to never be interpreted as signals to give in and to stop pushing forward. As an administration, we propose to press on, knowing that the addition of this Friendship Connector Road would ultimately be down to the greater good of Tobago and the Tobagonians. And this is not just about building a new roadway. It's about how this new infrastructure will pave the way for a stronger island. In Southwest Tobago, we are cognizant of the rising levels of traffic congestion being experienced on a frequent basis. We are also extremely mindful of the various adverse effects that traffic jams can have on motorists' well-being, on pollution levels, and even on the island's productivity. Therefore, we saw the Friendship Connector Road project as one of the most important ones in prioritizing Tobagonians' need for development. Now, on the cusp of this new year, we are close to completion of phase 1, and it is truly gratifying, a gratifying feeling that we will soon be able to gift this new piece of infrastructure to the people of Tobago. A piece of infrastructure that provides the driving public with more choice and will hopefully add more peace and comfort to your daily commute as well. Earlier this year, I experienced the same heartening feeling when we delivered on an improved bridge along with other civil works at Gogo Patch in Providence. A few months ago, I went up to the hospital at Roxborough and got tested as part of the eye clinic, where we were able to perform over 1,000 surgeries for cataract. We have spent over $30 million trying to get rid of the backlog for gratuities and increments for our teachers. In other words, Tobago, we are moving full speed ahead, ensuring that development reach you, ensuring that you benefit from your government, and ensuring that you enjoy a standard of living that is superior to most anywhere else in the world. And so this Friendship Connector Road is really symptomatic or symbolic of our efforts as an administration, of the challenges we face from outside, of the fact that it's a constant fight to ensure that we can deliver to the people of Tobago. But fight on we must, because we must absolutely deliver according to your needs. As I shared earlier, in pursuit of worthwhile goals, you must expect concomitant challenges. So when you are crafting the New Year's resolutions, when you are creating the vision boards, when you are making your future declarations, such as my plans to lose the belly, you must in fact remember that there will be challenges that you have to overcome. And when the time comes to eventually face the challenge, understand there is a fringe opportunity as well. Instead, view your challenge as a clarion call, an invitation to insert greater effort, to apply more lateral thinking, to test the strength of your resolve. Believe, truly believe, that the boulders which you encounter in your personal lives can be transformed into building blocks, so as long as you remain willing to apply needed pressure. My fellow Tobagonians, I believe that we must adopt a similar attitude for community and island building. As Tobagonians, we absolutely cannot afford to cower in the face of any challenge. For when we cover, we subtly hand over our power and decrease the possibility of conquering the obstacles of the road. And some things are far too valuable for us to give over without a fight. So as we witness a concerning rise of criminality across the island, we must be willing to stand together as Tobagonians, regardless of our differences, and collectively say, not on our watch. The paradise that is known as Tobago shall not fail and shall not fall. Therefore, we cannot allow fear to cause us to turn a blind eye to the wrongs around us. After all, silence empowers darkness. As Tobagonians, we must also be willing to ask for a spiritual intervention for this island and render with crucial support to our security forces. I wholeheartedly believe in us and know that we will do all in our united power that this does not become our new norm. Tobago's progress will not be derailed. We have an island and a people to continue pushing towards greatness. Time and time again, we have shown that we are tenacious. We have demonstrated that we are indeed a resilient people, capable of weathering any storm. This is the Tobago that I know. This is the Tobago that I love. This is the Tobago we must protect. In my very first New Year's message, I asked you to intentionally include Tobago in your resolutions. And I hope that you still see the value of continuing to do so 2 years later on. Do not just create your Tobago resolutions, but also be willing to earnestly action them in the coming year. I am certain that many of our aspirations will overlap to this island, so it should not be too complicated to join forces. I believe at the end of the day, we all want the same things. We all desire to be able to exist here safely with our families on an island with opportunity and growing prosperity. Our visions often align, and it is past time for our actions to be received. No longer is it sufficient to only talk about loving Tobago. In 2024, let us all strategically think about Tobago's improvement. Let us commit to transforming Tobago and making her even more beautiful day by day. Above all, Let us ensure that Tobago and its generations continue to thrive and triumph. So on behalf of my family and the Tobago House of Assembly, I want to wish a happy new year to the greatest little island on the entire planet. Happy New Year, everyone.
Time check on Tobago Updates is brought to you by Flow, Tobago's newest fiber network.
In Tobago, Trinidad, and the region, with a perfect conversation to complement your morning routine. I am Candice Jackson, and let's get started with the news in 90 seconds, brought to you by B-Mobile. It's a Christmas season with B-Mobile. Tributes are pouring in following the passing of former Prime Minister Basdeo Panday. The news of Pandey's passing was announced by his daughter Michaela Panday on Monday night via social media. She mentioned that he passed away surrounded by family with its boots on, keeping everyone around him on their toes with his wit and humor. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley described him as a man who left an indelible mark on the nation, serving with great resolve and panache, while President Christine Kangaloo expressed deep sadness upon hearing the news and noted that he was a giant of a man who led the country with passion and compassion. Panday served as the nation's fifth Prime Minister between 1995 and 2001. And Tobago continues to mourn the loss of the island's first Chief Secretary, Hooy Charles, who passed away on December 31st, 2023, after a period of illness. Many people have expressed deep sorrow at his passing, with Chief Secretary Fali Augustin recognizing him as one of Tobago's greatest patriots who advocated for the island's self-governance until his death. And finally, Tobago started off the year 2024 with its first recorded murder on the first day. Kareem Small was shot while socializing with some other young men in a park maintained by CPEP in Patience Hill on Monday. Nigel Tate, the area representative for Signal Hill Patience Hill, arrived on the scene shortly afterward and expressed his shock at the incident. He mentioned that he knew Small very well, describing him as a good and hardworking young man who was not involved in any deviant activities. Tate pleaded with the young men across Tobago to put down their guns and strive to lead a life that on the straight or narrow path. And that was the news in 90 seconds, brought to you by B-Mobile. It's a Christmas season with B-Mobile.
News in 90 seconds was brought to you by B-Mobile. It's a Christmas season with B-Mobile.
This Christmas we celebrating, cause B-Mobile they coming with rating. So brace yourself for plenty prizes, cause this season will be done nice. It's the most deals and the most vibes and the most cars and the most price, the most giveaways, the most para. Having a Christmas season with B-Mobile. I want a Christmas season with B-Mobile. Bring me sorry, let me toast to a Merry Christmas. Having a Christmas season with B-Mobile.
Top up, buy a plan, sign up or pay your bills. Enjoy the best Trinbago Christmas. B-Mobile. Life is on.
And welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Viewers, first of all, I just want to wish every single one of you a very happy new year and much blessings and everything that you hope for in this new year? Now, unfortunately, we started off our new year in a bit of a somber note, having lost two incredible men. One was former Chief Secretary, our first Chief Secretary, Mr. Hooy Charles, who passed away on December 31st, 2023. And the other is, of course, our fifth Prime Minister, in that of Mr. Basdeo Panday, who passed away last evening, rather. So, certainly condolences out to the families, but what an incredible loss for us here in Trinidad and Tobago. Two men that contributed so much to development of the country, and their loss is definitely felt throughout. Now, for the rest of this week, we are going to be here at the Assembly Legislature building as we discuss the life and the legacy of Mr. Hooy Charles. And he certainly left a lot of big shoes to fill. He is irreplaceable within our space, and no one that advocated as much for self-governance and advocated for Tobago's development as much as he did. But before we get into those discussions about Mr. Charles, I want to spend a little time about, of course, Mr. Panday, because we got that news just last night. So I am being joined right now by former Assemblyman, Mr. Gerald McFarlane. And a special good morning, Happy New Year to you as well, Mr. McFarlane.
Thank you very much, and same to you, and I hope I continue having good relationship and chats with you, as we do these programs from time to time. And of course, we had to take this opportunity in the beginning to express condolences on the passing of two giants, one in Tobago, a giant in the political and development of Tobago, and Hooy Charles, and another giant in Trinidad by the name of Basdeo Panday, the fifth Prime Minister. I mean, these two are literally legends, political legends and icons in this space, and difficult to replace them.
Certainly. No, but I want to get started with talking about Mr. Panday for a little bit. In the eyes of Tobago, especially the eyes of Mr. Charles, he was a bit of an interesting, they had an interesting relationship, so to speak. But, what would you say about just his legacy, what he left behind, what he contributed to the nation of Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, first I must say that Panday was one of the more charismatic leaders or prime ministers we ever had. You compare him with Manning, Keith, who else? Chambers, Williams, and all these people, Robinson, there was no other prime minister as charismatic and feel loved, by so many people. And I tell you, and given his jokes and his way, he had a little bit of thing in drama and so on, but at the same time, boy, you couldn't beat him with the use of language and words and phrase and so on, You couldn't touch him with respect to that. Although we had some prime ministers who was really good, of throwing back jokes and so on. And saying that, I remember once Manning in an election was saying that I'll beat them in the East, I'll beat them in the West, referring to Panday, the UNC at the time. I'll beat them all over, I'll beat them like peas. Licks like peas. Manning telling Panday, Panday telling Manning, next morning, Panday's on the television saying that he just came from the market and he understands peas is scarce. That was one of the more interesting comments, and but on the other hand, he was known for, you have to give him credit, and it's still debatable, the position he took with respect to schools and the secondary school placement. People were going there to secondary schools if you had a particular mark. If not, you just don't go, you repeat or something like that. He said, well, all children will have a secondary education, and that was, in a lot of people's mind, that was exemplary and very worthwhile. Just that they have to put systems in place to take care of those slow ones and so on. I don't know if much of that was done, but the thing about it, he gave them an opportunity to go to secondary schools, and a lot of people benefited from that. Those who traditionally would have failed the common entrance thing, a lot of people benefited from that, and some people fall through the cracks like you must expect. But he built schools, secondary schools, to support that policy position of the government. I think no other government built so many schools, secondary schools to be exact, in any term of the government. I think it's more than 28 or 22 schools, secondary schools was built to facilitate that position, to each child get a secondary education, and to have more teachers employed and train up more teachers and get the whole thing working. It was a fabulous thing, and we should be, I'm proud of that particular period, and so on. And you have the comment that he made about morality. Again, politics have a morality of its own, and that is a fact. A true statement, Politics really have a morality of its own, but in our culture, that is not something that you must see. You know that. Keep that low, and Paddy was brave enough to say that. And that is what, people will fault him for, but, this is a man speaking out and saying it like it is, or however he feels. One of the things that he did too was the airport construction, which was a major airport, Piaco Airport reconstruction, I should say, because there was a Piaco Airport still, but was in a state of disrepair and wasn't needed. I think even Manning started it in a particular way or had a plan for it, and I think he executed it and make it happen. Although a lot of that, the corruption case coming out of that, was a big scandal in itself. We had a former government minister and others who were charged for corruption or allegedly involving corruption with respect to the airport construction, But they did achieve the goal of changing the airport, something that the country has been talking about for years. You have to give him credit for putting action in those particular areas. That comes to mind almost immediately. When he was in office too, if I should bring it to Tobago a little bit, there was a little issue from time to time with he and the Tobago House of Assembly. At one stage you had, not Hooy Charles, but I think Hooy Charles may be secretary for something in Tobago. And then you had Ashwa Jack, I think, with Hooy Charles, if my memory serves me right. And then Pandy sent this boy, minister, can't remember his name, to pave some road in Tobago. No consultation, you just feel that you, Prime Minister, must come and pave some road in Tobago. And they had a big issue about it. And I remember Ashwa Jack putting his car in the way. And Ashwa Jack was almost locked up, if I'm not mistaken, and the car was removed by a wrecker. And so on, and that caused a big hullabaloo. And I think Pandy get to realize, listen, they don't just walk in and do things as they like here in Tobago. And that changed the relationship. And I think by that time, afterwards, I think soon after that, this boy, London came into office. And London tried to create a better relationship with Pandy. And I remember Pandy using the term, there must be corridors of communication. In other words, let us communicate, man. Communication will at least stop these issues if we can communicate. And that's a fact, And Orville used that to the best of his ability to have better communication. And that works until Pandy went out of office, because Orville went on to serve for almost 16 years, I think,
Yes. And then what about his mark on our people? Because, one of the last times that I saw him in Tobago was he was here, I think it was in 2018, upon an invitation from the spiritual Baptist community in Tobago, who wanted to honor him for what he had done for the Baptist community.
Yeah, he established, I think, the holiday.
Yes, he did.
Spiritual Baptist something
Liberation Day.
Liberation Day, and it looked real bad, especially as all the previous prime ministers, who had, a lot of them had some association with the Baptist community, a lot of them, and Pandy come out straight and made some good points with respect to that, honoring and recognizing the role of the Baptist community how they were so persecuted in the past in this country, you know, before independence and even after independence, because they had this piece of legislation, you know, banning them from doing certain things. You could imagine that? I mean, we're looking at this thing now and, you know, but 40, 50, 60 years ago, that wasn't the case in Tobago. To the point where Indian Prime Minister is Indian Prime Minister, not associated directly with the Baptist community, but found it necessary to have this holiday in recognition, spiritual Baptist liberation day. You know, I think that was another good achievement on his part.
And then just, you know, what about that relationship that he had with former Prime Minister as well, Mr. Patrick Manning? Of course, we know who was his schoolmate.
Yeah, that was quite interesting as well. And I think both of them from South in school, yes, and the schoolmate, I think, was presentation. And
they used to lime together.
Yeah, and lime and chat together. When they reach in the house, they behave like battle warriors and fighters. And when they meet privately, they have the nice little drink and chat and throw picong at each other and so on. But that is the nature of politics in some areas, you know, and Manning was a good person to do that kind of thing, have a good relationship with even his foes, you know, try to have the communication going, you know. I remember Manning used to come here, sit down and chat with not Chief Secretary, Chairman Dinoon, you know, and so on. And when we had problems of getting finance, I remember calling Dinoon and saying, listen, Chief, we have to find a way to call the Prime Minister and tell him we're in a serious situation for funding, you know, and let me see what could happen. And I was in his Chief Secretary's Chairman Dinoon's office, and Dinoon take up the phone and call Manning and say, listen, we under some desire for funding, you have to help us in this situation. He phone call, you know. And Manning said, Chairman, man, come down, man. When you want to come down, let me come down and chat now, man. Come and spend a day with me. And he, you know, four of us went, me, Alan Richards, Chairman Dinoon, who else? Claude Benoit, and Benedict Armstrong. Went down and sit down and had a whale of a time talking serious business and having a good line. You know, and from that we got some ease up from the funding, the way they used to treat us with respect to funding. And it brought a new kind of relationship, but soon after that, you know, he went out of office, we call an early election, and went out of office for a little while. So he was good at communicating with people and doing, you know, the best he can. That is Manning and so on. But Pandey really is noted for that kind of thing as well.
All right. Well, we're going to go for a quick break, viewers. But please don't go anywhere, because we'll be back right here at the Assembly Legislature as we discuss, well, the life of Mr. Hooy Charles, our first Chief Secretary.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tobago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tobago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO, and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tobago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tobago's at your service.
Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
Updates. Viewers, you are joining us live here at the Assembly Legislature building as we discuss the life and the contributions of the first Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, and that is none other than Mr. Hooy Charles, who passed away on December 31st, 2023 after ailing for some time, and certainly a tremendous loss to Tobago. But when we think about Mr. Charles and us in the media, especially myself, we shared a very special relationship. And one thing that he taught me is to never go anywhere without the Constitution. And you need to know the Tobago House of Assembly Act by heart, right? So these two documents are always with me. And, you know, so many times when he came on set with us, you know, he was always armed with the Tobago House of Assembly Act because it was so incredibly important to him. Because for him, he wanted us to know and to understand that the power that we have and the power that we need to attain, and of course I'm speaking about self-governance and so on, which he advocated so much for until his death, pretty much. And viewers, we are continuing our conversation this morning with former Assemblyman Mr. Gerald McFarlane, who served with Mr. Hooy Charles for some of his time in office. And, you know, let's start there with, you know, just being able to serve. What was your time like serving with Mr. Charles?
First, let me just express my condolences to his wife and his children, his family, and some of his dear friends and supporters from that community and the Tobago community over the years who stood with him through thick and thin. Okay. You know, we really have to understand the kind of grief that they're going through right now with this more than a giant of a man in Tobago. But we first had to, you know, look at, you know, the relationship with us was little dicey at times, but you can't get away from the fact that he was passionate, he was sincere, he had a vision for what has to be done in this island of Tobago. And as a matter of fact, if you were to identify 4 political giants who wanted development for Tobago, you have to include people like Pam Nicholson, Hooy Charles, APT James, Fargo, and of course Robinson, and so those persons inside it. These are the persons, in my view, who in the Tobago space really conscientiously made sacrifices, you know, to change this place and bring about the kind of change that Hooy Charles contributed to or helped to bring about on this island space. Remember, I served from 1984 to 1992 or 1996, and all those years he was with Hooy Charles there, you know, as Secretary for Infrastructure, except for a short time when he was Minister in the Ministry of National Security. You know, there's an issue in the election and so on. And after the coup, I think Robinson asked him to come and serve as minister in the Ministry of National Security. But wherever he worked, you know, I remember him as a little boy, because I was following politics even as a student in school. A little boy, and he was a county councillor in the last county council in Tobago here.
Oh, what was he like in those days?
Oh gosh, that is what I was really coming to, you know, but that's so quick. But he really showed a kind of passion and a difference and making Tobago different. He experienced as a councillor what happened in 1976 when after the motion for self-government and after the Robinson and Murray won the election, and after the whole administration in Tobago was dismantled, people had to get a pay from Trinidad. All these files in Tobago had to go down to Trinidad, but you had to go down and collect check and what kind of crap was going on here. You wouldn't believe that a prime minister and a government will operate like that or so vindictive, you know, in that time. And so that is the kind of thing that caused people to purge themselves from the PNM administration in Trinidad at the time, and then they lost the government especially after the Basil Pitt lost that election in 1976, I think, you know. But Tobago was in a state of what you might call, so underdevelopment is not an appropriate word. And I could remember as a youngster as well, reading people like Horace Leighton Mills. He was the only Tobago correspondent that used to talk about things, I think, in the Guardian at the time, and I think it went to the Express after a while. Horace Leighton Mills, he was the principal of the school in Roxborough, some private school he had in Roxborough. And then afterwards, people like Compton Delph helped to identify other things that were happening in Tobago and need to be exposed, you know. But I, as a little boy and as a young son, as a member of the Tobago House of Assembly, for example, when I was campaigning in 1984 for the election, the THA election, I brought Hooy Charles and somebody else to have a meeting in Mary's Hill. That is the area I was going up for. In Mary's Hill, Plymouth, Lescato, and these areas. And we saw the road going up to Mary's Hill. And I tell Hooy, I said, listen, we have to have a meeting right by that junction of that road there to let people feel and remember this is how the road is today. And in a few weeks' time after we win the election, we're going to transform and make this road different. But that was an example of most of the main roads, you know, in Tobago, you know. That was an example of how the main roads on this island was doing. So when the first assembly, when they attempted to do many things from 80 to 84, Hooy Charles was Secretary for Works and Infrastructure. And they started a program. The government was saying, you can't fix the roads, and you can't widen the roads because the roads had to be widened. You had to put up brick walls. You had to put in drainage and all this kind of thing because people were just kind of trying to patch roads, and no drain on either side, so the water running in the road, digging up the very road that you just patch, you know. That was a problem, and Hooy Charles decided that, listen, the government were telling him, listen, you can't go and widen the road and encroach on people's private property. And they had to take decision that, listen, Hooy in particular has said that, listen, we are going to approach, since we are responsible for acquiring land, we're going to approach every person where we have to widen the road, ask them to contribute and give us permission to widen the roads. I can imagine places like going up from, you see that Annesville Road, going from Annesville to Moriah? Oh Lord, you wouldn't imagine how that road was. Precipitous on one side, no drainage, no brace wall, you know, just precipitous. Especially coming from Blackrock to Plymouth, after you pass Mount Irving with this wide road, you had to go around one dangerous bend by Pleasant Prospect, you know. So the buses used to come as far as there at one point in time and just turn back. You can't come straight through to Plymouth or go to Blackrock. That road was so precipitous going around by the little thing you have on that side there. You're going on the edge of the sea, you know, going right around. And we approached a guy James, an old man James, to get permission without even consulting the government or anything. Widen the road, wide as a seat there today. That was done in the early days of the assembly. These are the decisions that Hooy Charles took brave. And we supported him in the assembly to do these things, to expand and reconstruct the road network system in Tobago. You go up then up to now. You go to places like Congo Hill and some of these areas in Moriah, Golden Lane, Lescato, that Lescato road, that Annesville, the whole Annesville road was transformed during that time. Connecting Lansome back to Charlottesville, that was done in our time. You know, connecting that was a cart road or a hunter's road during that time. Reconstructing that road in coming from Devines Road going down into Castar, Mount Dillon Hill, that was damaged by Hurricane Flora, you know. After some heavy rains or something, Hurricane Flora, I think it was. And that road remained unfinished and untouched. They used to pass through some estate road in the back. You know where the present lookout is? They used to pass through a road in the back to go down to Castara, which was as dangerous, but not as precipitous as the original road that was thing. And they cut that road and benched that road and have people passing back there where you're passing right now, you know, to go from Devines Road into Castara. You know, so these are some brave and bold decisions that was taken in the assembly. And Hooy Charles got the name Heavy Roller because he never considered any obstacle that you can't deal with. You know, even a big challenge like that Mount Dillon Hill, that was a big challenge. I used to be there watching them fellas going over the precipice, and men had to pull them or pull a string by the hand and tell them they can't go further because they can't see in front because it just dropped down suddenly, you know. It used to be an amazing feat to see how workers of the Division of Works used the D8 and D4 tractors that they had then, you know, to bench that area so that people could pass. Bench, and they put drains on both sides so that you can't have that kind of washing of that mountain and landslide again. That to me was a significant achievement for road development, a good example of what could be done. Realigning all those roads going up to the country. As a little boy, you know, that was before when we came into the assembly. When I was going to Roxborough Secretary, I spent 1 year going to Roxborough Secretary. Me and Keith Roll used to be in the same car going up. And we used to wonder when this road going to be realigned and changed, you know. Keith was in politics then, and I was a student, you know. And I see after the THA came into being in 1980, and under Hooy Charles, all them areas used to pass around by Hoop Farm, by a bridge that was breaking down, and all these areas. All them areas was realigned, straightened, widened, put up rails where going back to the sea, you know, widened Bad Rock. If you know what Bad Rock was. Oh, Lord. You know, so we can't pay enough tribute to our visionary, a man like Hooy Charles.
And I just want to stick there a little bit because, I mean, my memories of Mr. Charles in governance was, I mean, because, I mean, I came from Trinidad. So we, you know, my first experience at Tobago was in 1997 and my family moved in 1998. And that time there really was a lot of road construction happening across Plymouth and all those other areas. But, you know, what was remarkable was that Mr. Charles was doing all of these things with way less money than we're receiving right now. How was he able to achieve that?
A lot of it was done. You have to give credit to some of the workers and some of the supervisors in the division. We had people like Alison Williams, who just came back from studying and so on. Dr. Alison Williams now. We had people like Ellis Boris, who came here, who started and doing things. He went away and got his PhD and came back as well, but still aligned ourselves and came back to work in the THE. So at the technical level, we had capable people. We have to be thankful for that. And the workers in the division, you know, I remember Alison Williams telling his father, who was a supervisor, you know, that, listen, so you are my boss now? Alison saying, yes, I'm your boss. You're still my father. I'm your boss. But, you know, they did all of that to have a new relationship with the workers, inspiring them, helping them to do things. They're working until 4 o'clock in the evening. Some of them working after 4. You had very little money, but you had more productivity then because of the work attitude. And people like Mr. Wong, you know, a Chinese guy who used to be an engineer down at Works as well. Very good at designing and constructing and project management. Excellent. He built that thing on the Esplanade, that thing to go preventing the water from coming in, and so on. And that building you see down at Works, that was designed by Mr. Young, and workers of that division build that building at Shore Park. We had meetings where Works was confined in a little building by Carrington Street corner there, you remember? That is the old Works building. All our Works people was there, and the workshop on the next side of the road.
But what about the policy direction from Mr. Charles, though, in making sure that, getting down to the various divisions and so on, that they knew what the agenda was and they maximized what they had?
Yeah, and he had a way to spread the thing over all the areas, and I could imagine, on reflection to it, I could imagine the kind of challenges this man had. The roads in Tobago was in such a state, and people see he doing things and succeeding. Roads would never exist till he paved them or get them in a condition where he could pass, make them passable. If he could pave them, at least he had drainage for them. You know how much years I wait for the drainage in Plymouth to be dealt with? As one of the early members of the assembly, which I used to buff me up sometimes and say, Jerry, we can't do that right now. The place ain't flooding here. You got to tell me the place ain't flooding, but the drains were in a deplorable state, and the road could not be supported well, especially on Shelburne Street and some of these other streets. We had to spend a lot of money on the drainage. And boy, I tell you, people used to see, as a result of the progress that he was making, they were getting much more demands from various parts of the country, of the island, to do things. And with people like Ellis Boris, and others, and some workers in Works, they really shone and make a good example. Was a work ethic that was second to none that I've seen in this place. And the cooperation of the community in getting things done, I tell you, people like who give them permission, yes, come on the land, take a 6 feet or 12 feet on either side, because you have to make roads and you have to put drains to control the water. That is a serious thing, a serious strategy in terms of the road improvement. You couldn't do the road without putting in some form of drainage. That was key. So we had a fairly good size money for drainage, that, people found that was unnecessary, but it was quite absolutely necessary.
And some of those drains stand up today.
Stand up today, of course, and with a greater number of buildings and so on, and the paving of all these roads, some of them are a little overwhelmed by the level of water in the rainy season and so on. But still, it is a mammoth difference from what it was pre-1980 to what it is now.
And then, of course, we know Mr. Charles, he dealt with a lot of challenges, especially with where money was concerned, and which is why he advocated so hard for the Tobago House of Assembly to get that 4.03%, between that 4.03% and 6.9% from DRC. That is so controversial now.
Yeah, and I'm sure the new administration is going to resurrect that, because there's an arrangement how that could be done, and who the committee should comprise of, how many members of THA and how many members of the government, and I think the judiciary or somebody, to be comprised of that. But that was directly because of the level of financing they were getting, and something had to be done, and that is what is a measure to put that in place. And all that is what was linked and was pushing the drive for greater autonomy for the island, so that we will separate and say, listen, we have to get a certain percentage, not just what you feel or you think you're going to give the Tobago House of Assembly to do their work. It just can't happen like that. And before we run out of time, there are other areas that I think we want to touch with respect to Hooy Charles. We going for a break?
No, not yet.
Okay. All right. There's other areas that I think we want to go to touch with Hooy Charles. You see that scholarship program? That was a big, big difference to this island. Although he focusing on road development and so on, and trying to harness the resources of people like Henry, who was an engineer and working with us for a while, Ellis and these other guys, he felt that we needed more trained and skilled people in all areas. You saw that when he was Secretary for Health, for a little while. You saw that when he was Secretary for Works. You saw that when he was Chief Secretary. But that scholarship program, boy, Tobago over the years, or during that time, hardly ever benefited from a national scholar. For the people or the students from Tobago. Students like, I think, Martin George or his brother and one or two other few will go to Trinidad and go to school and get a scholarship, But somehow you can't get that in Tobago. you know. So we felt that it was absolutely necessary to set up some scholarship arrangement, and a team of people went to St. George's University, look and see what they were doing, because people from St. George's University were coming here to work as doctors at that time, you know. And we realized, but wait, where is St. George's University? This is not right in Grenada, we're talking about just next door to we. And we went on a campaign. You didn't get some national scholarships? Well, the THA going to fund scholarships for persons to go to St. George's University. People like Dr. Duke and many other people benefited from those scholarships.
Yes.
You know, people like
pathologists, Boris.
pathologists. We couldn't get pathologists. You know how long we had to wait for this guy from Trinidad to come to do pathology? We chose 2 Tobago doctors to go and do pathology. Devines and Dr. Boris. Dr. Boris, you know. They went and do pathology on scholarship or recommendation by the THA. You know, so a lot of these doctors went and did and came back and served this island, and a lot of them out there serving different parts of the world as scholarship. I just spoke to Dawn Friday, I think her name is, you know, another doctor benefited from these things. I think she's leaving today to go back to the States. A specialist in infectious medicine. All these specialist people you have outside, and some came back to serve, and some of them, they pushed them away and they've gone back to do different things. There's a fellow, Otley, one of the greatest, what you call these things, using laparoscopy, you know, to do different surgeries and so on. Hundreds and thousands of surgeries, very skilled man, right from Tobago here, you know. So I am saying, one of the ways in which we could pay a serious tribute to Charles is not just by naming some road or some airport. Well, the airport is already named. It's to have a scholarship fund in recognition of the work that Hooy Charles and the Assembly did at that time, especially while he was Chief Secretary for that one term, to ensure that people get scholarships.
Yes.
A good friend of mine named Barry Joe Field, you know, he couldn't afford to go and do his master's on his own. He wrote to Hooy Charles, and he said, boy, that man ain't responding to me at all. One day out of the blues, without no prodding or anything, you know, get a call and just say, come, be ready to fund you, go and do your master's. You know, he asking people, all the people I spoke to benefited from scholarship, never one day was asked, what is your political allegiance? Or anything like that. Or they had to do some research and to find out how you think, you know, with your political bias or anything like that. The man seemed necessary to do this thing, and he sent people to do it. You know, and we had to, that is one of the things, just like how this guy in Bishops, this dentist, who gave this scholarship, what is his name? Bowles, Dr. Bowles scholarship. Every year you have a fund set up somewhere where you get scholarship from Dr. Bowles thing. Set up a special fund to give scholarship to somebody and call it the annual Hooy Charles Scholarship Award.
Certainly something that we can do for us here in Tobago, but we're not done yet talking about Mr. Charles. I don't think we could ever be done with talking about Mr. Charles. So we're going to go for a quick break, and we'll be right back. So viewers, don't go anywhere.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say,
Everybody only worrying. Never ever worry. Don't mind how things looking hard. I tell them never ever worry. If your nice car get damaged bad, I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider Tatil is always right here for you. Never ever worry if sickness catch you off guard. I tell them never ever worry if times fall on you real hard. I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider Tatil will always be here for you.
Never worry about a thing. Tatil, where people are people. You know what I mean.
Hey, hello guys, welcome. Come have a seat.
Oh, this is so stylish, and I love the fabric. Darlings, you must tell us where you got your new furnishings.
We got them locally at Standard. They've got new chic European furniture, crafted from high quality material.
Oh, Standard?
No, it's Standard, their brand new Hive collection.
Experience luxurious European furniture at a price you will love. The Hive Collection, now exclusively available at Standard.
Rotisserie, mouth-watering fries, salads, combos, and specials galore. Feeling for something to eat? Come and see. Our rotisserie is seasoned to the T. Kicking chicken, masala, and jerk roast. Crispy fries made from scratch. Who do you know can't beat that? Or salads freshly cut and packed. When you taste it, you'll be wanting to come back. So come check us out on number 2 Robinson Street, Uptown Scarborough, Tobago. We open on Saturday nights from 7:30 to 11:30 p.m. Monday to Thursday, we're open from 10 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. and on Friday, 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Contact us at 772-7443 and all social media handles at The Rotisserie Factory.
Inner Health, number 13B, Portmore, Scarborough, Tobago. With over 25 years experience offering services in and not limited to microscopic blood analysis, reflexology, and the sale of a wide range of organic herbal products used to supplement thyroid, lymphatic, heart, kidney, and brain health, and the male and female reproductive systems. Come and chat with us. Remember, your health is your wealth.
At JK Tech, we bring technology to your doorstep. From cutting-edge laptops to reliable printers, we've got it all. Nationwide delivery and a new website for easy online ordering. JK Tech is your one-stop shop for your electronics and computer needs, carrying top brands such as Acer, Samsung, HP, and much more. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at JKTechTT or visit jktechtt.com. Quality tech is just a click away. JK Tech. Evaluate your shopping experience, your tech, your way. Call or WhatsApp 383-2651. Shop smart, shop JK Tech.
Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago. Let's go. It's a brand new morning. Rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and hear me.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Viewers, we are continuing our conversations this morning with Mr. Gerald McFarlane, former assemblyman of the Tobago House of Assembly, as we discuss the life and contribution of the giant that was our first Chief Secretary, Mr. Hooy Charles, who we unfortunately lost a couple days ago. But, one thing that stood out about Mr. Charles, and this is why I have this document here, which is the THA Act of 1996. I said earlier that he went nowhere without it. And one thing every time you had an interaction with him, he impressed upon it, the need for us to know this and understand it and be able to execute the powers in a way that can benefit Tobago. But talk to me about just getting to this point, the THA Act of 1996. How Mr. Hooy Charles took us to this point.
Well, that was not only Hooy Charles, but that was a work of a number of persons, the Simongal draft, and one set of other persons that was involved in putting different things together. Mm-hmm. I know when the first recommendation came about a Tobago House of Assembly and a week ago, when it went to Williams at the time, Williams had a very watered down version that approved in the House, so he didn't bring the full responsibilities that we wanted. And I remember Robinson and Murray at the time in the House. Robinson walked out in disgust after they watered down the motion that Robinson was eventually passed. Mm-hmm. With the support of the government at the time, a very watered down version. And at that time they say, well, give a 3-year term and other things that Murray stood up and said, listen, let me make this thing 4 years instead of 3 years because it resembles too much the county council, and this is a new kind of thing with more responsibility. You should give people more time as a term in the assembly, and we felt 4 years was the appropriate thing to do, which he did. But it calls for a lot of patience on people and a lot of drive, and in spite of the obstacles, as I say, that is why they call him heavy roller. But he was in a position to see what was happening. He was part of he consulted, and many of us consulted too with all these people who were drafting the legislation, and to see it came down to this. But some of us said, well, listen, at least it's a start, and we're going to see changes moving along and so on. And that is where we got to the point where Charles, as the first chief secretary, felt that, we had to do things like go to the district resolution committee and so on to get more funding. And Charles recommended too, as part of that, that for the new kind of assembly with the greater responsibility for secretaries, that we should have administrators. And a lot of people frowned on it. And when he said, listen, the administrators will be close to the rank of a permanent secretary, some public servants laugh and so on, because they didn't think it was possible. They are accustomed taking instructions from Trinidad and that kind of thing. And now in the THA, they're supposed to take no instruction from no politician and all kind of stupidness they were saying. But eventually, the public servants, as we see today, under people like Hooy Charles, saw the new vision of the Tobago House of Assembly, greater reality, moved from 7 of 1980, 40 of 1996, and all these responsibilities are there. The public servants in Tobago could be proud. When I see them from 1996 to who administrators, it makes my heart really feel good to know that I was at least a part of this system that brought this into being, But unfortunately, we didn't see the level of, people taking their work seriously. And over the years, you see the standard on the work ethic on the island just went down and went down and went down. And now it is at an embarrassingly low position in Tobago. You go to some administrators with some issues and they say, listen, I can't fight up with that right now. I'm not wasting time. I'm not going to this place. And I'm not going back to service commission and fight up with that. He's a lawyer and all kind of thing. He's taking up too much of my time. So people just doing what the hell they want to do in this place. And something has to be done about that.
Certainly. But I mean, when we talk about Mr. Charles as well, we also, things like PRDI come to mind, the Public Research and Development.
Policy Research and Development Institute, I think.
That he strives so hard to develop, even though over the years it kind of fell away. But what was how important was that, and what was his vision behind that?
Part of the problem in Tobago is data collection to help you make a decision, and the level of research that was required to help you to be informed of making a proper decision. That wasn't possible. What you had as CSO at the time wasn't really dealing with some critical information that we needed on the island. We have to just go on what we think and what we saw was happening and so on. PRDI was absolutely or something like that to make the planning division, because the planning division didn't have the kind of people to deal with this kind of research that he wanted to do. You had Beckles and I think Alan Richards. When Alan Richards came to Tobago, he was employed. He was in the planning division as a planning officer, and then rocketed to the position of clerk and then to chief administrator, the first chief administrator. But these are things, that was something that was absolutely necessary. And I, as a member of the Tobago House of Assembly at the time, agreed wholeheartedly with this approach. You hire people to be inside there, do some serious economic planning and analysis of what is required on the island, how we could move forward, what resources, human and financial resources that was required to do certain things on the island, how you could get it. And that is how DRC came into being, because we can't depend or we can't move forward with a particular approach set up by or suggested by the PRDI without the necessary funding to do that and funding to do the development of the island. And so the PRDI work was important to give credence to the development initiative on the island, to make it succeed. You're not doing development by VAPs. You're doing it by taking all the necessary, doing all the research, collecting all the necessary data to make informed decisions on plans, how we're moving forward. Human capital development was a key thing coming out of PRDI too, because it was necessary. And what you should note, to show the unselfish nature of Hooy Charles. Hooy Charles agreed to pay these people pretty high, higher than usual wages in PRDI. Some of them, I'm sure, were getting more than he as chief secretary. He felt that was no problem to he. He wanted to get the work of some of the best minds on the island to do work in the PRDI. And that is to show the level of unselfishness on part of Hooy Charles. And you know, we just can't forget this legend. We just can't forget this legend. And things like these and obstacles, he will find a way to get rid of these obstacles, find a way to get around it. Whether he go to huff and puff, whether he go to embarrass or cost somebody, he will do that as well. And I feel that we really have to show and invoke the dispute resolution, the DRC again, very soon. I'm sure the Chief Secretary will have to do something about that, because although we never got the 6.9, which was the maximum, I think it's 4.2 or something, or
4.03.
Yeah, to 6.9, we never even get half of that, you know. There must be some mechanism used, whether it's through the DRC again, invoking the DRC to come and look at this thing again and to see if they could set up some system where we can get more funding to do a lot of things here on the island.
And then what about his passion for self-governance? Because we saw that he never gave up on it.
He's the longest serving fighter for self-government and autonomy, you know, since after APT James. APT James and them started this thing and talking about home rule for Tobago in their little way and trying to do things. APT James and them were doing it from their own pocket, you know, trying to do things to help people, help road, help to do road, having TNTech come here on the island with a new generator, expanding the services, starting for the port. Oh, Lord. A lot of these people did their work in their little way in the beginning, but Hooy took this fight to different levels during his lifetime. And this is what we ought to be proud of. And that is why I feel, and it brings me to the important point before we close, is that people like Hooy Charles, not enough is ever done at an official level to chronicle the life of a man like that. Nothing is done officially to chronicle the lives of somebody like J.D. Elder, you know, and the kind of anthropological work and cultural work and thoughts, you know, that he did for this island. The thought of the Heritage Festival, that was his original idea. Stanley Beard gave it life, you know, by sitting down as an assistant secretary for culture with JD and Stanley, and we're talking about this issue of how we're going to get these villages involving heritage and so on. What are we going to do to chronicle the lives and have the history well recorded of the lives of people who pass and who's still alive today? What are we doing about Pam Nicholson's contribution to this place? Are we going to get somebody to seriously sit down with Sister Pam and say, listen, we want you to tell us about your story. Tell us about the things that we don't remember and chronicle that so that the children who coming now, who in ABC and first year and in secondary schools could have something to look at and reflect on and say, this is how these people work together to achieve where we are today. You know, this is the kind of politics and the kind of trouble they went through. This is how they use people and talk to people, and they inspire others to reach levels of greater heights and so on. So I think something like, you know, you give a scholarship, even that same Hooy Charles scholarship fund that I'm suggesting that should be done. You could decide and listen, give somebody who's doing a PhD to do a PhD in history of politics in Tobago, yes, governance, or anthropology, you know, and take Hooy Charles to the start and look at all Hooy Charles' works and recommendations and things that he was involved in. Yes. Get him a PhD, fund it, and say, you chronicle the work that he has done, whether in a part 1 or part 2. Talk to the university. Get somebody a PhD, do the work. That is a PhD thesis.
And certainly something that would really, you know, embody who he was, because he was like a walking library.
Yeah.
You know, whenever you
it's like the death of it's like a whole library lost there.
Whenever you asked him about anything, it was like, Mr. Charles, I don't understand this. Mr. Charles would take you back all the way
from
to
the beginning,
start to make sure you understand. And you learned so many things that you didn't know at the end of the conversation because he was so passionate about understanding the history and the context and the reason why certain things need to be changed or the reason why certain things are what they are and so on. So it's definitely a lesson for us all and perhaps a lesson for some of our scholars, our young scholars, to take up this mantle in making sure that our leaders, our legends like Mr. Charles is remembered.
Or contributors I like to call it, serious contributors to the development of this island.
All right. So Mr. McFarlane, I want to thank you so much for being on with us and having this discussion with us. It was certainly a pleasure with you this morning.
Thank you very much, and I really look forward to the activities that, being done, there to big updates and so on, and any way I can assist, I'll surely do that.
All right, great. Thank you so much. And of course, viewers, for joining us this morning. It's certainly a pleasure. And all week this week, we'll be diving into the life and the contributions of that giant that was our first Chief Secretary, Mr. Hooy Charles. Bye for now.